It's Monday, June 12th, 2023. Coming up on today's episode of the Kurt Steele Podcast, I ask, how good can the Lions pass rush be this season? And I talk about how the J-Mo treatment situation has gotten out of hand on social media and by a certain Lions beat writer. Now let's get after it. It's time to start the show. What up, dude? And welcome to the Kurt Steele Podcast, your trusted source for Detroit Lions news and rumors. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. Do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with fellow Lions fans just like yourself. The Detroit Lions finished the 2020 season in the middle of the pack with 39 quarterback sacks. It could have been better, but it could have been worse. The Lions are getting some veteran pass rushers back from injury to mix with the development of their young defensive front. In his rookie season, y'all know who it is. Second overall pick, Aiden Hutchinson, Big Hutch, was the top performer in the Lions sacks. He had 9.5 for the season. Hutch said this offseason he was focused on improving his physical abilities, leading to an increased strength and speed. Now, he enters his second year. He plans to step up his game and improve his sack numbers, putting all the quarterbacks in the league on notice. Now, we had another impressive rookie. Y'all know who it is. It's the problem, James Houston. He could have been a bigger problem, but he only played 7 games. But he had 8 sacks in his rookie season. That's crazy. He initially signed to the practice squad last season after being drafted in the 7th round. He was offered a 2-year contract halfway through this season last year, and he just tore it up. Now, he got a goal in 2023. He won 16 sacks, doubling his sack total from last year. That's a lofty goal, but if he puts in that work, he will get that thing done. Hey, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop me a comment. For more content from your man, Kurt Steele, head over to kurtsteele.com, where you can find the links to my article on Sideline Report and yardbarker.com right there on the homepage. Now, the young fellas didn't get out there by themselves last year. Veteran defensive lineman John Kaminsky added 4 sacks along with 2 from first-year player Josh Pascal and third-year linebacker Julian Aquater. Now, several Lions defenders had about 1 sack apiece, but defensive tackle Aleem McNeil, my man, lost 13% of his body fat this offseason, intending to improve his sack total this season. That young fella said he's going to get after it and get after those quarterbacks. Now, 2 experienced pass rushers that can take Detroit's pass rush from a good pass rush to an elite level are both returning from injuries. Now, in previous seasons, these 2 players have led the Lions in sacks. Romeo Okwara had 10.5 sacks in 2020 and had 2 sacks in 5 games in limited action last season. He's recovering from the Achilles injury. He's full strength and ready to go this season. Now, the other fella, Charles Harris, missed all of 2022 with a knee injury. He was the Lions' top pass rusher in 2021 with 7.5 sacks. That's not great, but the Lions had a porous defense that year. He's not healthy and is ready for that 2023 season like gangbusters. Both players look to have better sack totals than they did when they led the Lions in sacks, especially Charles Harris. He said, I feel better than I did the year I led the team in sacks. Well, hopefully that's the case. I recently predicted that the Lions will have 60 sacks as a team. I still stand by that prediction if all of the members of the Detroit Lions defensive line can stay healthy. They have the potential to go from good to great. Quarterbacks on the Lions schedule will have to face a significantly improved pass rush in 2023. Boy, it's gonna be some slow singing and some flower bringers when that Lions defensive pass rush gets after quarterbacks this year. Like the video, share the video. Like I said, man, drop me a comment. I will answer all of them in due time. I will get back with you. I love hearing from fellow Lions fans just like yourself. And head over to curtsteele.com. Like I told you, man, right there on the homepage, you will find the links for my content on Sideline Report, Yard Barker, and just original content from me right there on curtsteele.com. Now we got to get into this other topic for today. Whew. On Friday, the usual suspect, was up to his usual antics. Negative lines reporter for the Detroit Free Press, Carlos Moniz, in his usual fashion, was unflattering to the Detroit Lions. And this time he was targeting Jameson Williams. He said he was worried about Moniz, talking about Williams becoming a first round bust. And he mentioned some players, Now, one guy that I say, yeah, I hear what you're saying. He was talking about Eric Ebron. Now, the reason why I can get with that is because the drop issues. Ebron has some drop issues. Williams is working with some drop issues as well. I get it. Yeah. And Williams got to fix that. Got to get those issues fixed. He has some issues with body catching. He's got to work on his hands this offseason. He's got to get with a veteran. He's working on his routes and everything like that, but he's got to get those hands right. I agree with that 100%, Carlos. But one person he compared Williams to that I was totally just put off by was former Lions first round draft pick and former Michigan State wideout, Charles Rogers. Man, Charles Rogers suffered some injuries to his clavicles in his rookie season and his sophomore season, and he missed a lot of time, and he just never really got on track in the NFL and with the Detroit Lions. But here's the bigger issue with me and why I had a problem with him comparing Williams to Rogers. Man, that guy had a significant off the field issues with drug addiction. What? You're gonna compare Williams to Rogers? And there was that big thing with Charles Rogers and his drug addiction, man. That really, and God rest his soul, man. And I always looked at him as like the player that could have been, because we all know what Charles Rogers did at Michigan State. But come on, man, that's a reach. Because here's what JMO did. Well, he liked the tweet from a former MVP quarterback that a lot of people thought the Lions should have tried to trade for. He placed a legal bet. Now, I know it broke the NFL's gambling policy, but the bet was legal on his phone. He didn't break a law when he bet on the NBA. He bet on a legal betting site on his phone, but we'll get to the rest of that later. And he handed out money to some young men for some water. Oh, ooh. Yeah, okay. So let's move on past that. So let's get into this thing. Williams and Goff have moved on from the Lamar Jackson tweet, him liking the tweet or whatever. They said his water under the bridge. He loves JMO. Goff's like, man, you guys got nothing else better to do. And to Williams's credit, he said, okay, I didn't know about the policy. He can take that for what it's worth, but he said he accepted it. He said it's hurt his heart that he's not going to be able to be out there with his teammates. But here's the deal. I think JMO is part of a bigger NFL investigation and will not be the last player to get punished. Now, we know about the Athletic surveyed players around the league, and most of them did not know about the rule that put Williams on suspension. Now, Williams was not betting on the NFL. That's why most of the guys that were betting on the league got a year suspension. He only got 6 games. But he did it while he was in an official capacity with the team. Either he was traveling on the road, he was at a facility. One of those things happened. We don't know the details, but that's what happened. He got suspended for 6 games. He said, hey, man, it wasn't something I knew about, but I'm going to take it. I'm not going to appeal. He took his lumps like a man. This isn't even close to the issues that Charles Rogers had. Man, Carlos Moniz, you are way, way off on the comparison between Charles Rogers and Jameson Williams. Now, let's get to the last part. Now, somebody said something the other day that kind of really irritated me, right? Because they said, oh, Jameson Williams was acting like Pablo Escobar, handing out $100 bills for bottles of water to a group of young fellas in the inner city of Detroit. Okay. Williams grew up in St. Louis and most likely saw himself and those young men hustling to try to make some money, selling something that would not end them up behind bars. Now, I'm not saying that J-Mo, I don't know where J-Mo grew up in St. Louis, but I'm looking at this like he is doing something out of the kindness of his heart. He's seeing the struggle of these kids, man. He's like, look, here's $100. Maybe that can help you hustle. Because you don't know what, how much more water they can buy with just getting those $100 bills for bottles of water. And the guys were out there hustling, just trying to make a buck, selling some water. Enough is enough, man. Let the young fella live, give him a chance to develop on and off the field. He's still a young player. If Williams becomes the player we expect him to and continues to get mistreated by the fans in Detroit and the press, he will exit Detroit like some other players who were ran out of Detroit for similar reasons. Come on, man. Give the young fella a chance. He's a young guy. Just because he doesn't fit into the box that you want him to, and some people are going to be irritated with Jameson Williams because of the fact that he was traded. They traded up to get him. That's not his fault. He got picked by the team who picked him, and wherever he got drafted is not his responsibility. All he can do is make sure that he follows the rules. If he breaks them, like he did, take accountability for him and do the best thing he can do to get on the field. And he's showing us some improvement during OTAs, but come on, man, back up off the young fella and let that dude live. Well, thank you for joining me for today's episode of the Curtis Steele Podcast, your trusted source for Detroit Lions news and rumors. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop me a comment. We'll get back to you for more content from me. Visit CurtisSteele.com. And I told you, you can find the links to the articles, my articles on Sideline Report and yardbarker.com right there on the homepage. Do your man Curtis Steele a favor. Whatever you do in life, you got to sauce up, ball out, and be the best version of you that you can be. This is Curtis Steele, and I will holla at you real soon.